Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are Jorge Moya and Nuria Vita, professors at the University of Lleida from Spain, and members of the research team, Neuropsychology, Genes, and Environment, NeuroPGA. In this presentation, Case to Neuropsychological Intervention with Modern Board Games, we want to share with you the most relevant findings from our studies carried out over the past 10 years. These studies are the result of a collective effort from several researchers, families, schools, publishers, and funding initiatives such as Gaming Lab. Our talk has 4 main parts. We are going to talk about executive functions and modern board games, interventions in school populations. We are going to talk also about interventions with children at risk of social exclusion and new paths to explore. We need your help for better understand about executive functions. And Jorge helped me with this short activity. I need your help for do some actions. When you see some picture in the screen, you have to do 2 types of action. Clap your hands. Okay, thank you very much. Or tap your foot on the floor. Okay, perfect. So I need that you have to clap your hands if the current stimulus, if the current picture is the same as the one immediately before. Is the same picture that you see in the previous slide. If it is different, tap your foot on the floor. Okay? Is it clear? Okay, let's go. Thank you, Jorge. Okay, well. Hey. Well. Okay. Well. Okay. Okay. Let's go to level up with this cognitive task. Now I need that you clap your hands if the current stimulus, if the current image is the same as the one shown 2 trials ago, 2 slides ago. Okay? If it's a different stimulus, I need that you tap your foot on the floor. Is it clear? Okay, Jorge, help me. Okay. Okay. Okay, and it is the final task. We are going to increase the difficulty, and now you have to clap your hands if the current stimulus is the same as the one shown 3 trials ago, 3 slides ago. Okay? Let's go. Okay, and now tell me, how many different games have you seen? How many different games? 4? 4? 5? 5? And what are the titles of these games? Aligali, okay.
Monkey Do.
Monkey Do. 5 games, Unanimo, Haligali, Abu Simbel, Monkey Do, and Fast Factory. With this activity, we needed to shift our attention between different instructions, different pictures, that is we called as cognitive flexibility. Also, we needed to control the act, the impulse to act, and in order to adjust our behavior depending on the condition that you are seeing. So with this activity, we are working our inhibition and cognitive flexibility, and we also we have been updating visual information. You have to remember the different stimulus along the task. So we are using our updating working memory. This is what we call basic executive functions. In the scientific literature, we can find different classifications about these cognitive processes. One of these classifications was about the complexity of the task, and we split between complex and basic executive functions, and between hot and cold executive functions, depending on the impact in the task of emotional and motivational factors. We know that executive functions are relevant in the educational performance, academic performance, and executive functions may predict academic skills like such as maths, reading, or science. So we usually use fillers. These games are quick, they have simple rules, are light, and quite similar to neuropsychological tasks that we usually use for assess these cognitive processes. When we began to explore about the scientific literature about this topic, we found few studies about that. The scientific literature about the use of motherboard games in school populations was scarce. So at the end of 2019, we began a collaborative project called Conectar Jugando with the publisher Mercurio and the Community Care Association AFIN21 in Spain to test if the use of motherboard games in school populations could promote executive functions and academic skills. The goal of the first study was to reduce executive dysfunctions with children at risk of social exclusion with motherboard games in the classroom. We split the sample between gamified and non-gamified group. In the non-gamified group, we use different motherboard games. In the gamified group, we use the same motherboard games and also a gamified system with a narrative and reward badges to try to increase the motivation of the students. Contrary that we expect, the results show that it was the non-gamified group was greater reduction show about the executive dysfunctions. So our main conclusion was that the act of playing itself may be inherently beneficial. We want also to obtain a more objective criteria about the selection of cognitive games to use in schools and in the following studies. And we did a committee of experts with professionals from psychology, education, and research in neuroscience with experience in the use of modern board games. When we train it about the different cognitive processes and play the different games, they assess the degree of activation of the different cognitive processes in each game. So we obtained cognitive profiles of each game with a good agreement between experts. In the slide, you can see some examples of these games. And we wanted also that analyze the correlations between mechanics of these games from Board Game Geek and the cognitive processes analyzed by the experts. And we found some relevant correlation, like real-time and processing speed, or loss at turn and innovation. When we selected the best two games to train the different cognitive processes, we designed a neuroeducational program with these games and tested in different schools from Lleida and Madrid. We use a program of 12 sessions in some of the classes in the experimental group, and the control group for the regular classes. These are the different board games that we use. And before and after the interventions, we use different cognitive performance tasks to assess updating, inhibition, and cognitive flexibility. Also, we use a test to assess reading fluency, math fluency, and calculation. The results from these studies suggest that when we use model board games in the classroom, we can promote basic executive functions, but also reading fluency, math fluency, and calculation. So the inclusion of board games in classrooms could promote the development of executive functions and academic skills in school children, as well as, or even better, than the regular classes.
Okay, thank you, Nuria. In parallel, thank you. In parallel to this research, we were awarded by the Gaming Lab to develop a project that I'm going to present right now. And we are very grateful for them just to inviting us to share this knowledge with you. The project was, the results of the project were published in this journal. You have here the reference is an open access paper. And in this case, the main objective of the study was if the basic executive functions could be enhanced with modern board and card games that mainly train one executive function. At least in professional settings in Spain, a lot of people is trying to use board games in neuropsychological rehabilitation, and they always try to take the best game for each specific cognitive process. So do we need to use one game for one specific process or not? Okay. So we performed the research in 97 children at risk of social exclusion of 3 different settings and cities all around Spain. We assessed pre and post the intervention the basic executive functions with performance tests, and we also assessed different confounding factors. And here we perform a randomized control trial, what means that we randomly allocated participants into 2 groups. The first one, the experimental group, played during 12 sessions of 60 minutes 2 ways a week, different games that theoretically activated just one mainly basic executive function. On the contrary, the control group was playing at the same time, but with games that were not, or theoretically, didn't activate those specific basic executive functions, but other cognitive processes. Then the main results that we found is that in both groups, not showing differences between groups, but in both groups, we found a significant decrease in this time, in the reaction time doing the task, what means, okay, good news, they were increasing their level of inhibition and flexibility, and also the participants increased the level of hits in the sustained attention test, what means that that they increase the level of sustained attention after playing the games. But we didn't find significant differences. Why this could be possible? So inspiring us in the experts committee of Nuria, we performed it with the games played in this study. So here you have the different cognitive profiles of the games played by the experimental group. More or less, every game activated mainly in a very intense way the specific cognitive process that it was intended to activate. Okay. But if you see, the profile is relatively simple, just activating one cognitive process. The surprise became when we compare this profile with the profile of the control group. Okay. First, if you see at the slide, some games activated flexibility, cognitive flexibility, in a very high degree, and also these games activated complex executing functions. Okay, so maybe the explanation is that when we play to harder games or to games that activate a wide range of cognitive factors, maybe we are directly activating the basic ones, but also indirectly the basic ones activating the more complex executing functions. Okay, and just to summing up, a tip for neuropsychological rehabilitation: it doesn't matter that when you try a game and when you use a game for neuropsychological rehabilitation, you don't need to use a game that is very evident which process you are working with it. You can use another type of games that maybe they are going equally or even better than the most evident ones. Okay. Now we want to share some new results because we are trying to understand if these significant results of improvement in cognition may be explained maybe because when you play to this game, you need to activate these cognitive processes, or it is possible that these benefits comes from other sources. For example, when you play to this game, you are socializing, and we know that socialization has very important effects in cognition. So here you have the first results. This is the first time we show anyone this kind of results. This is a correlational analysis with in this case, children participants. We observe them when they are playing, and we check if they are doing correct answers, errors, and so on. Okay, so what we mainly found was that those children that were better on reasoning, visual working memory, inhibition, and cognitive flexibility performed better in this game, so they got a greater number of total correct answers than children with lower levels of reasoning, visual working memory, inhibition, and cognitive flexibility. Going beyond children populations, we also have done more or less similar research with adults with severe mental disorders that they show different levels of cognitive impairment. To summing up, especially Ghost Bleed and Be Alert, you can fix your attention on the total errors and the ranking if they finish at the first position when they finish the game, or at the last position, and it allows us to discriminate those adults with severe mental disorders that have low or high cognitive impairment. So this opens the door to, in a future, using modern board games, commercialized one, and even, why not, serious games, just to assess, maybe as screening procedures, the level of impairment of different samples. And finally, this is a research done in adolescents. Let me explain you briefly. This kind of analysis is a structural equation modeling. What you have at our left side is the estimation of the IQ of the whole sample. Okay, so the IQ, IG, what you see in the slide, is the estimation of how good every participant performs tasks of numerical intelligence, verbal intelligence, and fluid intelligence, okay? So it's supposed that one person that is good in numerical intelligence is also good in verbal intelligence and so on. And IQ in psychology captures more or less this kind of situations. What we did was selected 4 games, and we also register the behaviors of the people, of the adolescents that when they were playing, and we extracted the correct answers, the final position, and also the ranking. So what you see in the IGGM is the IQ that could be estimated by playing the games. Okay, so this intelligence assessed by the board games means that sometimes in this model, people who played good with a lot quantity of correct answers at Tuki also performed well and in So Clover, in Smart 10, and in SET, okay? And what we found was a very significant correlation between the intelligence quotient estimated by playing the games to the intelligence quotient assessed with a standard test that we use in Spain just to estimate intelligence, okay? So as I said, this opened the doors to change a bit the way we see games. We can use games in order to potentiate different cognitive processes, but also to assess different cognitions. Last but not least, we are trying to go much beyond to cognitive functions, and we are beginning to study if board games can help us in enhancing school climate, linguistic competencies. Even we are trying to develop game-based cognitive assessment, the association between executive functions, mental health, and board games, and also trying to design serious games applied specifically to psychology. Thank you so much for your attention. We have tried to be clear, and we are open to answer any question you have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And of course, you know this already if you have been here. This little cube has a microphone built in. I can throw it to you, and then you can ask questions. Do we have any questions in the audience? Or feedback? Here, catch. And please stand up if you can and speak directly into the black box.
Hi, thanks for the presentation. I was just wondering why Smart 10 was included for measuring the IQ, because it's just a knowledge-based game, and there might be a correlation, because if you want to know a lot of stuff, then you are good at that game, and you might be smarter, but maybe not. So especially like when you have not a lot of education, you would not get very good in the game, but you might be pretty intelligent.
Well, very interesting question. First, standard tests that we use to assess intelligence have some tests of general knowledge also, okay? So when you want to take a big picture of the intelligence of people, you don't only need to assess the more fluid intelligence, the intelligence that you use when you solve a mathematical problem, but also is assess the knowledge you have around of the world, okay? So Smart 10 was included a bit just to try to take this kind of knowledge. But we did a specific adaptation just to try to, the questions of the Smart 10 were very similar to one test that is used in the EDIN test to assess intelligence, you know? So we tried to select games that more or less were all the same that the specific test that is used to assess intelligence, you know?
So you try to replicate the intelligence?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Thank you.
Any more questions? Over here, down the lane. Yes, exactly. Good catch.
Hi. I was wondering, you just, all these studies were about school kids, right? Is there any research about the work with adults, like with adults with neurological impairments?
Yeah, I don't know if I have understood properly. You mean if we have performed studies on adult population?
Yes.
And,
Yes, and
or
also with
adults
people
or
who
all
have,
elderly also or not?
yes.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Yes, we published, the second paper we published about cognitive interventions was in older adults, okay? And we found there that using board games as cognitive remediation is as good or even better than some standard paper and pencil tasks that are usually used in these different care settings with older people. But we know that there is there are so few studies in adults, not in older population, but mainly in adults and specifically in clinical populations. You know, the most common populations to make these kind of studies where you can find more research is in children and in elderly. But in adolescents or adults, independently of if they have any mental situation, mental disorders or not, there are too few studies in that field.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Hi. Just following on from that question, is there a plan to continue following these students as they go into adolescence and adulthood to see the impact of games and how it maybe, because, they're 9, 10 at the moment, everything is kind of okay. Then you have adolescence hits. Does gameplay actually help them build more resilience, for example?
It's a key question, this one, because all the effects that we have found, they are short-term effects, okay? We assess the samples when at the beginning of the intervention and then just at the end, but we don't have any follow-up study, okay? And they are very difficult, even ethically, because if we want to do it properly, in some studies, the control group is not doing anything, okay? So we have an experimental group playing that it's supposed that playing to this game is going to be beneficial, okay? And the control group that is doing nothing. And if you want to show if the results are stable in the time, you need to follow them 2, 3, 4 years. So ideally, the control group that ended without playing anything should be not playing anything for 3 or 4 years more. So it's very challenging ethically, because if we have a good intervention with board games, good results in the experimental group, at the end of the intervention, the ethical committee tell us that it's mandatory just to give this intervention to people. So nowadays, it's very difficult to do this kind of research. But I think that it's a key question. You need only to play 12 weeks as we did, and then all you have enhanced is going to be stable or not. Just considering all the results, not only by us, by other international researchers, what we know nowadays is that you need to keep playing during all your life. In fact, the best results in older populations are of these people that have been playing during all the adulthood. So when you're playing during all the adulthood, you are investing in the cognitive reserve, that it's a very special topic, but the cognitive reserve is the petrol you arrive in when you are old, okay? So it's supposed that playing games during all your life enhance the petrol you have for the end of your life, more or less, okay?
Thank you.
All right, thank you. That's the time for this question and answer round. But of course, you're still available. Please give a warm hand. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Oh my God. Thank you.